Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Does anyone need to use the repeater before we begin the 9 p.m. Skynet? This is KF5PDS. My name is Billy, and I'll be your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning the subject of astronomy. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic, and we encourage your participation, comments, and suggestions for this net. Stations with priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time by using the # break break and your call sign. Is there any emergency or priority traffic? This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control. That would be me. And stations are reminded to ID at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.880 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using the W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. And remember to tell others about this popular net. All amateur operators are welcome. You need not be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net is 90 minutes long and is structured in several parts. General announcements, Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope, National Space Society events, discussion topic of the evening, space exploration and space history, What's Up, Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, space launches this week, recent astronomical discoveries, visible satellite passages over the next couple of days, astronomical Q&A, and our 73 round. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in, so at this time I'll turn the net over to my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll do the check-in honors, please.
Very good, and thank you, Miss Billy. This is KE5ICX. My name's Tom. I'll be alternate net control this evening. I'll go ahead and take low power short time check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Low power short time only. Please come now.
News. November 5, Whiskey Oscar India, William and Allen.
I-5, BUA, mobile. I'm from the Amarillo area, just passing through, checking in.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, in Dallas.
All right, somebody didn't follow instructions. I know which one. N5WY, William over in Allen. I've got you checked in low power short time. I got KI5BUA over in Amarillo. From Amarillo and mobile. Can I get your name, sir?
This is Matthew, AI5, BUA.
Very good, Matthew. I've got you checked in. And I got NT5TM Tony. He might be low power. I know he's not short time because he's here all night long. But I got you checked in. Any additional low power short time, please come now. Just remember, net control is always on frequency. Okay, I got you, all three of you checked in. Does anybody have anything they would like to bring to the net now? I'll take it. Take your information. Any of the three of you, please come now. All right, I'm taking a big sigh. Here we go. I'll take general check-ins now, RF only. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and where you're transmitting from. Be nice to me this evening.
This is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha. Chaz in Mesquite.
Golf 5, Papa, Mike and Richardson.
Fifth, Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda and DeSoto.
Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert Richards.
Alpha, November, Papa, Allen, and Dallas.
Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, Farmers Ranch.
Kilo 5, Kilo Tango X-Ray, Kelly in Quinlan.
Kilo India 5, Echo Whiskey Echo, James from Deep Ellum. let me go ahead and get this first round. I've got KF5JHA, Chaz and Mesquite, KG5P, Mike Richardson, WB5OZL, Miss Brenda DeSoto, AA5AH, Robert in Richardson. I've got Alan in Dallas. Alan, you got covered over by a double. Can I get your full call sign, please?
Kilo 5 Alpha November Papa.
Right, K5A and P, Alan in Dallas, I have you checked in. K5ZBL, Mr. Bill, a grandfather. In Farmers Branch, K5KTX, Miss Kelly in Quinlan. KI5EWL, James over in Deep Ellon, that's in Dallas if you don't know. I'll take additional check-ins. Please come now with your call sign name where you're transmitting from.
This is
Yes. Kilo Bravo 5, Uniform November Z, Max in Fort Worth. November 5.
Number 5 Alpha Bravo Alpha, Andre and Garland.
KJ4SLO, Snohomish, Washington.
All right, there was a massive collision on a bunch of these. Let me go ahead and get folks I did pick up. I've got KB5, Uniform November Z, Max over in Fort Worth. Welcome, Max. I think that's your first check-in here on this net. I got N5ABA, Andre in Garland. I got KF5QOR, Thomas in Garland. I think they're doing something on HF this evening. Everybody else got kind of crushed. I'll take additional check-ins now.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta, Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
All right, here we go. Echoing, folks, stand by. I'm going to give you your own check-ins here. There's just enough of delay that you're colliding with folks over on HF or on RF. Maybe on HF too. I don't know. We'll find out. I've got KI5FET, Miss Stephania over. I'm not sure where you are. Maybe in Garland, but I got you. Let's see now. I'll take one more round of RF, and then I'm going to Echolink. So if you are on RF and you'd like to check in, please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Jim from Dallas, Alpha Golf 5, Victor Whiskey.
W5CYZ, Ken, North Garland.
Okay, there was some breakup. I think I heard another echo link in there, but let me get the two more I got. I got AG5 Victor Whiskey. That's Jim over, I think you said Dallas. I do have you checked in. The next station, I got Ken in North Garland. I need a fill on your call sign. I got Kilo Yankee Zulu. Can you give me your full call sign again?
Kilo Yankee Zulu.
All right, you're just kind of shaky into the repeater, but I got Whiskey 5 Kilo Yankee Zulu. Did I get that right, Ken?
Correct.
All right, very good. You're just barely making it into the repeater, but I do have you checked in. Okay, I'm going to move over to Echolink. If you'd like to join on Echolink, I'm going to give you plenty of extra time because it is slow. Please come to your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. If you cannot transmit by voice, just acknowledge through the chat window that you would like to be acknowledged as on the net. So, Echolink only, please come now. Your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5. Bravo Zulu Whiskey J near Weatherford.
Kilo 5, Juliet, Delta Whiskey, John in Norman, Oklahoma.
Kilowatt Juliet 4, Sierra Lima Oscar, Vince in Snohomish, Washington.
Number 5, Yankee Echo, Oscar, Steven, San Antonio. Number 5, Silver Papa Kilo, Leroy, Somerville, West Virginia. Echolink.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Charlie Tango, David in Frisco.
All right, just doing some pickup work here. I've got KG5BZW, J near Weatherford, not in Weatherford. Nobody be in Weatherford. K5JDW, John in his summer home in Norman, Oklahoma. I got KI4SLO, Vince over in Washington somewhere. Welcome, Vince. I think you're new. Thank you for checking in. I've got N5YEO, Stephen, one of our stalwarts over in San Antonio, N5ZPK, Leroy over in Somerville, West Virginia, and I've got KG5ZCT, David somewhere. David, where are you transmitting from?
Sorry, this is David, KG5ZCT. I'm in Frisco.
well, David, I still missed you, but I got you checked in. That's good. I've got N50F Clay over in Mesquite. Usually he comes in on voice when he's there, but I got you checked in. All right. This round, I'll take check-ins from anywhere, any mode. Please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. We will have additional check-ins later on. Miss Billy, we have a count of 26. Back to you. This is KE5ICX. Back to net control.
Wow, great. Thank you, Tom. That might be some kind of initial check-in record. And welcome to all who have checked in on Skynet. And special welcome to our out-of-state listeners, Vince in Washington State and Leroy in West Virginia. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you. And Tom, it was David in Frisco, in case you didn't catch the Z Charlie Tango. He is in Frisco. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, so let's get started with general announcements. Do we have any general announcements for this evening's net? These can be ham, astronomical, space, or of general interest to licensed hams. If so, please come now with your call sign.
5P, Kilo Golf 5, Papa.
And it was pointed out on the chat window that I'd missed our esteemed visitors from the planet Renulac, so welcome all Renulacians. All right, KG5P, Mike, good evening. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Hey, Billy. Well, in case you haven't come across it yet, and I'm sure you have if you're interested in astronomy, but PBS on the Dallas station KERA has been running for the last month or so on NOVA. They've been running a series on the planets, starting all the way from Mercury and going up all the way through beyond Pluto. You know, stuff back in the Oort belt and all that kind of stuff. They're very interesting. A lot of new information. They interview a lot of the people that actually worked on these different missions that went out there and collected these photographs. They're still out there on PBS on their KERA.org, and so they haven't archived them yet. So if you haven't had a chance to see them, by all means do it. They're excellent. The only problem is sometimes the animations. I can't tell when they have animations and when they have the actual photographs. But other than that, they're great and definitely worth watching. So back to that KG5P.
Great. Thanks very much, Mike. I'll be sure to check those out. Are there any other announcements this evening? If so, please come now with your call sign.
Number Tango 5, Tango Mike.
NT5TM, Tony, good evening. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Really great to hear you. I'd like to remind everybody that this is not our last net of the evening. We'll be watching, or talking about Coneheads, the movie, tonight at about 10:30-ish. And, of course, there is GeekNet coming up this Monday at 7 p.m. We have the GeekNet where we're going to geek out about something. We don't always know what it is. I'm inclined to talk about computer security because it's been a few years, and there's been a lot of that in the news lately. But it's really up to the participants. It can be anything that we talk about: butterflies, stamp collecting, plumbing. Anything that you think is exciting is geeky. It doesn't have to be computer or ham related as welcomes this Monday at 7. Thank you very much. NT5TF.
Great. Thank you very much, Tony. Yeah, it's always a lot of fun on GeekNet. Be sure to check that out, and I'll be sure to put a reminder on my phone so that I can get on the net as well, because I love GeekNet. All right, does anybody else have any other announcements? If so, please come now with your call sign. Not hearing any, so I'll go forward with a few announcements of my own. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. You will need Echolink installed and you registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com. This net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, which is 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC also have several nets on Monday nights. The first Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. If you enjoy cooking or want to share a recipe, have a question about food, anecdote, cooking tip, you name it, we share it if it's related to cooking on Ham Fixin's net. And we always have some very tasty recipes that get shared on that evening's net. That's the first Monday of the month. Second Monday is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Third Monday is a second helping of Ham Fixin's net, so if you want to get more recipes or you find one that you want to share, again, come on to Ham Fixin's net. And fourth Monday, as Tony mentioned, is GeekNet. If it's geeky, we'll share it. There's all kinds of things. If it's books, movies, tech, as Tony mentioned, it doesn't have to be ham or tech related. If it's geeky and you want to share it, there's also great brain teasers that get thrown out on the GeekNet. And news of the weird. So if you just have something that's just weird you want to share, if it's geeky, we'll share it. It's a good net. So please join us for the fourth Monday. And in the event that there's a month with a fifth Monday, we have Fifth Monday Surprise Net. There's been all kinds of good surprises on that Monday net. We've done Truth or Lies April Fools. We've done Christmas Thunderdome, sharing best and worst Christmas presents one year. We did a Build Your Own Story, which was like a round-robin story creation, and lots of rounds of Jeopardy. So do stick around. There is a Fifth Monday Surprise Net. It's always a pleasant surprise. On Saturdays, we have the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m., and, of course, on Saturday at 9 p.m., Skynet. And at 10:30, as Tony mentioned, we have the Afterglow Movie Net, which we'll have more information here in just a moment. The ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time, and all are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. All right, so at 10:30, we usually take about a 5-minute break and then launch into the Afterglow Movie Net. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you will give us tonight's Afterglow info.
Thank you, Ms. Billy. It is as follows. Upon discovering a UFO, an American Airspace and National Guard sends fighter jets to investigate, and they fire on the craft that doesn't respond. Activating a cloaking device, too late, the spaceship crashes into the Atlantic Ocean near Manhattan. The aliens aboard Beltar, Chlorholm, and his wife mate Primat survive and quickly adapt to the human way of life, despite standing out with their conical-shaped heads. Join us for the next Afterglow movie, The Coneheads, 1993 at 10:30 p.m. I have completed my transmission. Back to net control.
Thank you very much, Tom. So be looking out for that. So do stick around with Afterglow movie at 10:30. All right, next up is the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. Uh, so if anyone on frequency would like to talk about the Texas Astronomical Society, please come now with your call sign.
Five JHA.
KF5JHA. Chaz, good evening. What news do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, everyone. Last night was the meeting for the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. It happens on the fourth Friday of each month. Well, not in November, December, but that's a different issue. So for 10 months out of the year, it's on the fourth Friday of each month. Last night, Kevin Cobble actually presented a program on occultations by asteroids and how you could observe them. It was a really nice one. I actually participated in an expedition on an occultation of an asteroid, of a star by an asteroid back during the Texas Star Party. He's tried 30 different events. I'm sorry, I think it was 70 different events, and he's only successfully seen 6 occultations of stars by asteroids. So it's something that you really need to get into and work carefully. Most of the time it was because the path of the shadow of the asteroid was in a wrong location or the timing was off. The Astronomical Society of Dallas also has stargazing on Saturday nights, including tonight. So on the first Saturday of each month, the Stargazer Star Party is held at the Spring Park in Garland. On the second Saturday of each month, Frisco Starfest is held at Frisco's Common Park in Frisco. Cedar Hill Star Bolt is at J.W. Williams Park in Cedar Hill. And Stars on the Rock, the shortest park in Rockwall, happens on the fourth Saturday, which is tonight. Is there anybody at the Rockwall stargazing, or was it canceled? Come now with your call sign if there's anybody at that stargazing tonight. I was trying to wait for Echolink possible check-ins, but it was probably canceled because of the clouds due to some of the rain in the area this evening. So on the fifth Saturday of a month when it happens, they have a stargazing up at our DARC site in Atoka. So for details about that, you can check out the website for the Texas Astronomical Society, details about their monthly meetings and the stargazings at texasastro.org. Make sure if you go to the club meetings on the fourth Friday of each month, make sure you park in the correct parking lot. And again, details about that are located on the website. Net Control, I think it's back to you. Thank you so much. KF5JHA.
Great. Thank you very much, Chaz. Yeah, there's all kinds of activities going on. So if you, as Chaz pointed out, go to texasastro.org. You can select the calendar and then click on any event to get more details on the event that you wish to attend. And you can also take a look out on Facebook as well and join any Facebook pages to see updated news about whether or not events will be a go for the nights. Obviously, it's weather permitting. So this is KF5PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, at this time, we'll see if we have any National Space Society events and activities. So this is KF5PDS to N5BB. If you're on frequency, please tell us what's going on with the National Space Society. All right, not hearing Bill. Tom, did Bill check in KE5ICX? Did you hear from N5BB this evening?
No, negative. If I recall, he mentioned that he probably would not be on. He's down for the 100th anniversary of the Austin Amateur Radio Club. It just dawned on me that's where he is, KE5ICX.
Okay, well, thank you very much. All right, so that moves us along to the NCS topic of the evening, which my topic, in case you have not been on in the past months when it's been my turn to be net control, I've been covering different analog missions for NASA. So tonight is the last one, and then I'll have to select a new topic for next month. So tonight we're going to be talking about the last analog mission. So first of all, what is an analog? Well, an analog is a situation on Earth that produces effects on the body similar to those experienced in space, physical, mental, and emotional. These studies help prepare for long-duration missions, and NASA is associated with at least 14 analog missions throughout the world. So tonight we're going to be talking about the In-Situ resource utilization analog mission. These use space-based resources for human missions in deep space. So all the information I'll be bringing to you tonight comes from nasa.gov. So you can Google NASA analog missions and find the page that has the 14 analog missions listed, and then you can click on the links to read about each one. They're all extremely fascinating and take place on various places on the Earth. Some of them are underwater, some of them are in mountains, desert, volcanic areas. So they're all very interesting to read about. So tonight we're going to talk about the In-Situ resource utilization program. So to live and work in deep space for months or years may mean crew members have less access to the life-sustaining elements and critical supplies readily available on Earth. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station today receive regular cargo shipments from Earth with food, air, water, rocket fuel, and spare parts. The farther humans go into space, the more important it will be to generate their own products with local materials, a practice called In-Situ Resource Utilization, or ISRU for short. Using available sunlight is the most common form of ISRU, as has been employed on spacecraft for many decades. For example, the space station is equipped with large solar arrays to harness the sun's energy and generate the power needed to support a continuous crew presence aboard station since November 2000. As human space exploration evolves toward longer journeys farther from our home planet, ISRU will become increasingly important. Resupply missions are expensive, and as astronaut crews become more independent of Earth, sustained exploration becomes more viable. For travel in space, as on Earth, we need practical and affordable ways to use resources along the way, rather than carrying everything we think will be needed. Future astronauts will require the ability to collect space-based resources and transform them into breathable air, water for drinking, hygiene and plant growth, rocket propellants, building materials, and more. Mission capabilities and net value will multiply when useful products can be created from extraterrestrial resources. Each spacecraft, crewed or robotic, may encounter a vast spectrum of potential resources during its mission. As NASA refines its understanding of the space resources that may be available and advances the technologies to use them, space architects can incorporate the latest knowledge, designs, and capabilities into their evolving mission concepts and exploration plans to improve efficiency and sustainability. Some of the most promising space-based commodities that could enable substantial reductions in the mass, cost, and risk of human space exploration include oxygen, water, and methane. These products are critical for sustaining crew and for space propulsion and power systems. They may be derived from space resources such as the carbon dioxide-rich Mars atmosphere and water deposits based in lunar, Mars, and asteroid soil, also called regolith. Deposits of water and other useful volatiles, which are substances that evaporate easily at moderate temperatures, are not yet fully characterized, and work remains to understand their accessibility. Accordingly, NASA's priorities for advancing ISRU include exploring volatile deposits at destinations of interest so resource potential can be determined and extraction and utilization equipment can be properly designed. NASA has ongoing efforts to explore and characterize the nature of volatiles on planetary bodies through mapping and prospecting activities that address relevant human exploration strategic knowledge gaps. Our robotic ambassadors in orbit and on the surface of the Moon and Mars have proven that soils containing volatiles exist on both bodies. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has returned our highest quality images and a treasure trove of data from the lunar surface that indicate the presence of water ice buried under the lunar regolith at certain locations. The Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite mission launched along with Lunar Orbiter was directed to impact the lunar surface. Observations of the resulting 10-mile-high plume showed that nearly 5% of the regolith was composed of water, and another 5% contained additional volatiles including methane, ammonia, hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. NASA and other space agencies are conducting international coordination of lunar polar volatiles exploration to increase scientific knowledge, to determine their viability as potential resources, and to use the Moon as a proving ground for Mars ISRU technologies. Data from instruments on Mars orbiters and landers have shown that water exists in many forms and concentrations across the planet. A recent finding revealed that ice makes up at least half of an underground layer covering a large region of Mars that is located about halfway between the equator and the North Pole. The amount of water represented in this discovery is about as much water as Lake Superior. Asteroids, particularly carbonaceous chondrite or C-type asteroids, are believed to be another source of space-based volatiles and minerals. While we've learned a lot from these past and ongoing missions about water ice and other volatile resources at the Moon, Mars, and asteroids, there are still knowledge gaps about the location, form, concentration, and distribution of these resources, and how best to extract and process them into usable products. For the Moon, NASA is developing several CubeSat orbital missions, Lunar Flashlight, Luna HMAP, and Lunar Ice Cube, specifically aimed at trying to better locate where water ice might be found and how much water ice might be available. NASA is making long-term investments to advance ISRU technology in multiple areas, including particular focus on Mars atmosphere-based resource acquisition and processing, regolith-based volatiles resource acquisition and processing, and regolith-based in-space manufacturing and construction. NASA's ISRU technology development approach is both to use in-house engineering skills and to engage industry and academia through multiple approaches such as solicitations, fellowships, Space Act agreements, and public-private partnerships. NASA's first lander on Mars, Viking, returned important data about the atmosphere, revealing that it is made up of 95.9% carbon dioxide. Based on this discovery and information returned by subsequent robotic missions, NASA has developed technologies to convert Mars's carbon dioxide into oxygen and possibly fuel to benefit future human missions to Mars. Recently, NASA selected the Mars Oxygen In-Situ Resource Utilization Experiment, or MOXIE, as one of 7 instruments that will be placed on the Mars 2020 rover. MOXIE will collect carbon dioxide from the Martian atmosphere, then split the carbon dioxide molecules into oxygen and carbon monoxide. MOXIE is being developed to produce about 6 to 8 grams of oxygen per hour, about 1% of the rate needed for early human missions, with technologies capable of being scaled up to full mission production. MOXIE's ability to validate the atmospheric ISRU process has important applications for the journey to Mars. Because oxygen is a primary propellant for rocket engines, larger-scale atmospheric ISRU processors could be used to get astronauts off the Mars surface when it's time to return to Earth. They could also be used to produce breathable air for astronauts, further saving precious cargo space that might otherwise be used to transport oxygen to the surface. NASA is developing component and system technologies to excavate or drill into regolith-based water deposits from various regions on the Moon, Mars, and asteroids, and to process, transport, and store these resources as exploration products such as oxygen, drinkable water, and, when integrated into the Mars atmosphere processors, methane. The eventual goal is to advance ISRU system-level technology readiness to provide human mission commodities such as propellant, fuel cell reactants, and life support consumables. NASA and its industry, university, and international partners have demonstrated several important ISRU technologies and systems associated with excavation, processing, and mission commodity production and usage with simulated extraterrestrial surface materials and terrains. These demonstrations, known as analog field tests, validated ISRU hardware and concepts, but only for short durations and under Earth environmental conditions. New efforts are now required in this area to design and demonstrate ISRU systems at high production rates in simulated space environments and for long mission durations. Advancements in additive manufacturing, or 3D printing, may make it possible to use regolith harvested on the Moon, Mars and its moons, and asteroids to construct habitation elements on extraterrestrial surfaces, such as living quarters and storage facilities. NASA flew the first 3D printer to the space station in 2014 and has used it to print parts and tools that would otherwise be flown on a cargo resupply ship from Earth to the station. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has similar, although more terrestrial goals, to use in-situ materials to develop structures in the field without the added logistical challenge of getting construction materials to the field. Through the Additive Construction for Mobile Emplacement Project, NASA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have partnered to advance the technology readiness level of 3D additive construction capabilities, as well as excavation and handling technologies to produce in-situ feedstock. NASA's Centennial Challenges program, together with industry partners with advanced manufacturing interests, established a $2.5 million competition to build a 3D printed habitat for deep space exploration. The multi-phase challenge is designed to advance the construction technology needed to create locally sourced housing solutions for Earth and beyond. So there you have some information about NASA's In-Situ Resource Utilization Analog Mission. Again, you can find all these details and more on the nasa.gov Analog Mission website. This is KFI-PDS, Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up we have space exploration and space history. At this time, we'll turn the net over for space exploration and space history to Kelly. K5KTX, the net is yours.
I believe Tony has it this evening. This is K5KTX.
No problem. I stand corrected. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Tony. NT5TM Tony, the net is yours.
Thank you very much, Kelly and Billy. Am I making the repeater intelligibly?
Sound K5KTX.
Thank you. I'm portable this evening, and I will forge ahead. Okay, I have one great piece of space news this week. Chandrayaan-2, the Indian space probe system, is now in lunar orbit as of late Monday night, our time. This is a 3-in-1 space probe, kind of like our Viking Mars landers. It encompasses an orbiter, a lander, and a rover. The Vikram lander, the Pragyan rover, and the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter. A successful landing would make India the fourth country to achieve a soft landing on the moon after the space agencies of the USSR, the USA, and China. If successful, this will be the southernmost landing on the moon, aiming to land between 67 and 70 degrees south latitude. This week in space history, we had a lot of little things, but there were really 4 memorable milestones I wanted to remember. The launches of Viking 1, Voyager 2, and Gemini 5, and the Voyager 2 flyby of Neptune. On August 20th, 1975, Viking 1 was launched. The first of 2 spacecraft, along with, of course, Viking 2, sent to Mars as part of NASA's Viking program. It became the second spacecraft in July of 1976 to soft land on Mars, and the first to successfully perform its mission. There was a Soviet spacecraft that soft landed on Mars first, but it functioned for less than 20 seconds. Viking 1 was far more successful. In fact, Viking 1 held the record for the longest Mars surface mission, 2,307 Earth days, or 2245 Martian solar days, until that record was finally broken by Opportunity many years later in 2010. Viking 1 carried a biology experiment package whose purpose was to look for evidence of life. This was before NASA came up with the Follow the Water plan. They tried to directly short-circuit the chemistry and look for life. And some of the experiments were clearly negative, but some were inconclusive. Some scientists still believe this is evidence of ancient life on Mars, but it's also possibly just evidence of bizarre and exotic Martian soil chemistry. Martian soil in particular is full of chemicals known as perchlorates that act as powerful sterilizing agents and which can cause unusual chemical reactions. Scientists have not given up hope yet, particularly based on these Viking lander experiments. Dry valleys in Antarctica are similarly inhospitable to life on the surface, but bacteria do exist inside rocks where no probe has been able to look for them yet. On August 20th, 1977, Voyager 2 was launched. Of course, in NASA tradition, Voyager 2 was launched before Voyager 1, although it would have taken a slightly slower trajectory. Voyager 1 encountered all the planets first, so Voyager 2 was really the second probe to do most things, except it launched first. Voyager 1 passed over Jupiter and Saturn and made a close encounter with Saturn's moon Titan, and that meant that Voyager 2 was the only probe to encounter the outer planets, the ice giants, Uranus and Neptune. Both the Voyagers were the wonderful successful recipients of some bureaucratic subterfuge to make the budget appear smaller to a frugal Congress that had been burned out by the Apollo program, they claimed the missions of both probes would end with the first flyby of Saturn. But they were carefully given, and you can see it in Tom's slide there, a big 12-foot high-gain antenna that really didn't serve that much purpose. It wasn't really required until the probe got past Saturn and explored Uranus and Neptune. In fact, that high-gain antenna is a big part of what has made the Voyager interstellar mission possible today. Voyager 2 did great science inside the solar system, but now at a distance of over 120 astronomical units from the Sun and moving more than 15 kilometers a second, Voyager 2 is the fourth of 5 spacecraft to achieve escape velocity and who has left the solar system. The probe left the heliosphere for interstellar space on November 5th, 2018, becoming the second artificial object to do so, and it has begun to provide the first direct measurements of the density and temperature of the interstellar plasma. Is now in its twilight years. Its radioactive power source is declining in output, and it's not able to power all of its instruments in their heaters, and many of its thrusters have worn out. It has switched back to using the trajectory correction thrusters, last used in the Neptune encounter made back in 1989. That happened in July of this year, and they have begun turning off the heaters to more instruments. The heaters for the cosmic ray subsystem, which is fortunately still working, were turned off this year, but it is hoped that the science teams will be able to extract more data from the Voyager project for several years to come. August 21st, 1965, Gemini 5 was launched. This was a heck of a mission. The goal was to prove that humans could survive the length of time and space required to reach the moon and return home to Earth. That was the overwhelming objective of the mission. Other science was packed in, such as some rendezvous activities, but really endurance was the goal. Now, this Gemini spacecraft had 2 astronauts packed into an area like the front seats of a VW Beetle. It was like a little trash can in space, and they had a tough mission. Pete Conrad described it as the toughest thing he ever did in spaceflight. They got really bored. Because of power program problems with the spacecraft, much of their planned activity had to be canceled. The spacecraft's thrusters and computers were shut down to save power, and they sat there, and sat there, and sat there, and floated and sat there. They did do some science, but there were long gaps between Earth activities. One amusing complication was that they were experimenting with a better diet, and it was thought that shrimp would be ideal space food. Space food, they could be rehydrated in a bag, and if cooked with their tails on, the astronaut could hold the tail and eat the shrimp, and there would be no crumbs. Unfortunately, a bag burst open during the mission, which, as one scientist put it, resulted in the cabin being filled with dozens of tiny little pink sub-satellites. Now for something much less boring, but not crude, and that really didn't contribute to the moon program at all, but was still awesome. Voyager 2 began its Neptune encounter on August 22nd, 1989. Voyager 2 made a close flyby of Neptune. The closest pass happened a few days from now, after its successful Saturn visit. And Neptune was exciting and beautiful. It turned out to be a much more dynamic world than expected, despite receiving less than 3% of the sunlight that Jupiter receives. Voyager was initially planned to pass very, very close to Neptune, less than 1,000 miles, but the trajectory had to be changed because of science. Voyager 2 discovered that Neptune had unexpectedly a ring system that was not visible from Earth. Plowing straight through the rings was an unacceptable hazard. Even a very tiny bit of debris in space can make a probe tumble out of control and damage important instruments. A higher pass had to be planned and was successfully flown. to be the strongest in the entire solar system. 6 times stronger than Jupiter's and 9 times stronger than the strongest winds on Earth. The winds were blowing opposite the direction that the planet rotated, and they even formed a giant storm, the Great Dark Spot, analogous to the Great Red Spot of Jupiter. Unfortunately, by 1994, the Great Dark Spot had faded away. Voyager 2 discovered 6 small moons orbiting Neptune's equatorial planes named Naiad, Thalassa, Despina, Galatea, Larissa, and Proteus. Unfortunately, because it was hard to plan new trajectory maneuvers so far from Earth, only 3 of the moons could be photographed in detail. Proteus, and of course, the biggest moon, Triton. The last 2, Nereid and Triton, were the only 2 moons of Neptune known before the visit. The closest approach to Titan was about 25,000 miles, and that was the last close encounter with a solid object that Voyager 2 would ever make. This is NT5TM. It's been a great week in space history. Have a great night.
Great, thank you, Tony. This is KF5PDS Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. All right, next up, Tom, if you'll check KE5ICX, if you will check to see if we have any more check-ins, and then after that, if you will please turn the net directly over to Chaz for his Was Up segment. So this is KF5PDS to KE5ICX.
Billy, I do have 4 additional check-ins over various modes. I've got K5KOB, Philip over in Crandall. I got KE5YTA, Roger in Mesquite. KG5IWK, Billy in space. KE5JIT, Randy in Louisville. I'll take additional check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from.
Kilo India 5, Echo Lima Papa. This is Vernon in Dallas.
Is
Bravo, number 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WV4MFI, Ted, Dallas, low power.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, India Victor Juliet, mobile, adjusted, red out. Kilo Foxtrot, correction, Kilo 5, Kilo Oscar Bravo, Philip from Crandall.
all right, I think I got, let's see here. I've got KI5, ELP, Vernon in Dallas, WB4MFI, Ted in Dallas. I got KF5, IVJ, Justin in Red Oak. And I'll re-acknowledge you, Philip. I got you earlier, K5KOB, but I got you checked in as number 27 on the check-ins. Okay, next up is, oh, do I dare say it, Chaz, KF5JHA, a very punny guy and a professional astronomer. So Chaz, go ahead. What's up is what's up. Go ahead from KE5ICX.
KE5ICX and Billy, KF5PDS. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. My degree is in astrophysics, and I work at Brookhaven Community College, and we call this segment of Skynet Where's Up? Remember that Skynet is not only available on the Dallas repeater 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9, but also available to hands across the world via Echolink, and there's a bunch of us on there this evening. And most weeks, Skynet also has a video component too. You can find the video links on the w5fc.org website. So with that, because of all that, radio, Echolink, and video, I say Skynet is in 3D. All right, Tony, NT5TM says that we are in 4D because we use the dimension of time. By the way, what goes on in the chat window and Echolink might have nothing to do with the video or what's going on the video or what's going on the radio on the air. So to get the full 3D or 4D version of Skynet, you must monitor all three areas at the same time. Example, we're talking about the movie ahead of time, and we're also talking, I can't talk about that movie yet. That's not 10:30 yet. And we're also talking about cats. I don't know. Cats and coneheads? Oh, okay. After the heliacal rising of Sirius that I talked about last week, maybe you've been looking at Sirius. I've been finding Sirius in the early morning skies over the last week. I've been watching that dog star get higher and higher in the morning twilight. You know why? Because it was a doggone good thing to do. Okay. I thought that was funny. And all of you can also find the constellation of Orion, the hunter in the sky, because it's above and much higher in the eastern morning sky above Sirius. And once again, I am KF5JHA, and this is Skynet. This week, Jupiter will be the dominant object in the evening sky. Jupiter is currently the brightest object in the evening sky and be found halfway up in the southwestern sky around 10 p.m., which is right around now. And it's in the constellation of Ophiuchus, which is the snake handler, and it's also the 13th constellation of the zodiac. Just to the right and a bit lower in the sky from Jupiter, you can find the bright star Antares. Antares represents the heart of the scorpion, Scorpius. Antares is so big that if we place it in the center of our solar system instead of our sun, the Earth would be inside Antares. That would make us toast. Of course, us, it would be Texas toast. I love that garlic Texas toast, don't you? To the left of Jupiter, not nearly so bright, you can find the planet Saturn in the constellation of Sagittarius. Saturn and Jupiter are getting closer and closer in the sky, and they will be in conjunction on December 21st, 2020. The last great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn was on May 31st, 2000. But on December 21st, 2020, the two planets will be so close together they will look like one object to the naked eye. And in telescopes, you should be able to see both planets at the same time in the same field of view. That will be awesome. Out that there will be some end-of-the-world predictions when they are in conjunction. But the end of the world predictions will probably start as early as March of 2020 when Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are in conjunction. Around 5 a.m. on March 26th, 2020, in the southeastern morning sky will be a wonderful view of the three planets all in a row. And of course, as we get closer to that date, we'll talk about that. All of this planet gathering is happening in the area of Sagittarius, which represents an archer that's a centaur. A centaur is a half-human, half-horse mythological creature. But most people see it as a teapot. The handle is on the left side, and the spout is on the right side. Oh, I feel like singing, but we're not supposed to have music here on radio. The teapot is hot, and if you are far from the city lights, you can see the steam coming out of the spout. This is the Milky Way, the galaxy where we live, billions of stars so far away that we only see their combined light with our two eyes. Using just a $25 pair of binoculars will reveal lanes of dark clouds of dust, bright clouds of gas, clusters of stars, birthplaces of stars, and even death locations of stars. Last night, the moon was at its last or third quarter. So tonight, the moon is waning crescent phase. On August the 30th, the moon will be at its new phase. And also on August the 30th, the moon will be at perigee with a distance of 357,177 kilometers. And once again, this is Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, and this is Skynet. So 3 mornings, just before 6 a.m., you may be able to see Mercury low in the eastern sky, just below the stars Castor and Pollux. All right, I've talked about it before. I haven't talked about it for almost a month, but in less than 3 months from now, on Monday, November the 11th, 2019, Veterans Day, we will have the next transit of Mercury visible from North Texas. After the November 11th transit, the next transit of Mercury will be visible in North Texas, but it won't be occurring until May 7th in the year 2049, a long time from now. The Texas Astronomical Society and Brookhaven College are hosting an observing session for this November 11th, 2019 at the campus of Brookhaven College. Of course, there are no plans that have been announced for the observing of Mercury transit on May 7th, 2049, but we've got a few days between now and then to figure that out. Now, the Texas Astronomical Society, we mentioned it before, if you get a chance, go somewhere to the Metroplex on a Saturday night. If you go to the right location, the Texas Astronomical Society has telescopes set up, and you can take a look through the telescopes and see different things like Jupiter and Saturn in the evening sky right now. Go to texasastro.org for details. Now, before I end, do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on the information I've provided? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? I don't know everything, but I might know the answer to your question, or I might direct you in the right location. If you have any questions, come now with your call sign.
5 Papa with a general astronomy question.
W5GUS, a question about Mars.
K5JDW, question, general astronomy.
Question is, why is a black hole like Las Vegas? Why is a black hole like Las Vegas?
Okay, I'm not sure, but go for it. Go ahead, tell us, Mike.
It is because what happens in a black hole stays in a black hole.
I'm going to use that this week in the astronomy classes at Brookhaven. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I missed the call sign of the question that somebody had about Mars. Come now with your call sign and your question. Thank you.
Thanks, Chaz. This is Gus, W5GUS, and that was a good general astronomical question, Mike. Chaz, I was wondering what the latest theory or is on those what appears to be straight lines on the surface of Mars. Wonder, is there any theories on any ideas on why those straight lines are there? W5GUS.
Thank you for that question. Right now, I have not heard that, but I'm actually going to go to Kelly. She's the Solar System Ambassador. Maybe she's heard something. Kelly, K5KTX, come now. If you've got any information, let me know. Do you know about the straight lines on Mars?
This is K5KTX, and I remember there being something quite a while ago about those, but I do not remember off the top of my head. I've slept since then, and I don't know the answer. I'm sorry about that. It's K5KTX.
I'll tell you what, Gus. Kelly and I are going to do some research over the next week and see what we can come up with. So stay tuned to Skynet for next week and find out about that. I understand through Echo Link, I'm looking at John has a question. Is that right? John, come for your question.
Yes, Chaz. Yeah, thanks for answering all my questions. Got a question. You were talking about Sagittarius, and we were talking about Star Trek on the chat window earlier and stuff. And I was just thinking, it seemed like there was always some kind of ion storm. Is there actually such a thing as ion storms in space? I mean, I know what ions are. They're elements that are charged, and I'm sure that does happen in space, but it seems like to be so far apart. But anyway, let me know if there are actually such a thing as ion storms in space. K5JDW.
Thank you for the question, John. And JJ, just to let you know, this is really a good question because I'm going to be talking about sort of ion storms next week. Because on September the 1st in 1859 something happened, but I'm not going to tell you about that. So this is a teaser for next week again. So, okay, 2 teasers for next week. So that's a good question. There are ion storms, and they're produced by the sun. The sun produces a whole bunch of things, including parts of atoms, and parts of atoms would be ions, protons, electrons. And so we'll talk more about that next week, John. So you're going to stay tuned for that, won't you? This is KF5JHA. John, did I answer your question, sort of?
Thanks, Chaz. Yeah, I can definitely wait. That'll be a good hook. Get everybody in here. K5JDW.
All right. So, as the moon continues to wane during the last part of August, so do these words. Until next week, keep looking up so you know what's up. This is Chaz, KF5JHA, back to Billy. Net Control, KF5PDS. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. This is KF5PDS Billy, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. And Kelly, I saw your comment in the chat. I was thinking the same thing if Gus was wondering about the Martian canals, because that's the only straight lines that I know about that people talk about on the Martian landscape. And just quickly looking up some facts, those were first noted by Giovanni Schiaparelli in 1877 because he called them canali, and it was translated in English as canals. And so there had been speculation over the years as to whether, there were Martians building things or if there was water flowing or things like that. And now some people think that they're an optical illusion. We know that there are no canals on Mars, but you can read up on that if you look up Martian canals. You can read that up on the NASA website. Also, Wikipedia has articles. You can find, even JSTOR has an article on the Martian canals. So that's where I would look first, Gus. Unless there was something else that you were thinking about, that's the thing that leaps to mind for me. And also Kelly, K5KTX, was also thinking of that same thing. I saw her comment in the chat window. So anyway, give that a look. It's interesting history. All right, next up is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week, under which we usually talk about a constellation or object or topic. And so this week is part 2 of a topic, Tsiolkovsky and the rocket equation. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mike, KG5P. You have a twofer. It looks like you've got the talk about the rocket equation and then space launches for this week. So I'll go ahead and turn the net over to you to do your segment. So this is KF5 PDS to KG5P. The net is yours.
KG5P, well, there's not much going on in space launches this week, but you also mentioned the straight lines, the canales, Schiaparelli's. He was an Italian, and the Italian word for channel is canelli. Channels is canelli. And some American or Englishman looked at the word and said thought it was canals, which was a mistranslation. Canals implies some kind of intelligent construction, which Schiaparelli never intended. Okay, I want to finish up here on the rocket equation. This is really neat, I think, for a number of reasons. Well, what the rocket equation does, or what we learn from the rocket equation is basically how much gravity, how much fuel takes us to overcome so much gravity to get out, say, to go into low Earth orbit. And this was determined by Velikovsky. Konstantin and Velikovsky around 1900. So he never saw his work actually being put to use, but it's still used today. Okay, this rocket equation, basically, I'm not going to read it, I did that last time, but it's in several forms, and basically what it is what mathematicians call a transcendental function, because it involves E, which is the base of natural logarithms, which is 2.718 something on, it's like pi, it goes on forever. This number is found all over mathematics, it's found all over physics, it's found in biology, it's found in engineering. For instance, it tells electrical engineers how fast a capacitor takes to fully charge. And it follows this exponential curve, which it ends up here in rocket science as well. So we have this equation, and it's about 1 inch long, nothing real complicated. It's a differential equation, and I used to know how to derive it, but that's been a few years. But you might think of it as just a black box, and into this black box go two things. One is that goes in there is how fast you want the rocket to go, and the other is how fast the propellant squirts out of the back of the nozzle, the exhaust gases. And out of this equation comes the mass of the rocket that has to be propellant. And it turns out it's a very, very large number. There's very little left over after the propellant's accounted for. In fact, we mentioned last week Don Pettit, who was a NASA astronaut. This happens to be one of his topics. I've seen him speak a couple of times. And he also was at the Texas Star Party a couple of years ago. And he said if the Earth were about 10% more massive, we would not have a space program. We don't have fuel sufficiently energetic enough to get us into low Earth orbit. So that's really interesting. Or we'd have a rocket that consisted of fuel only, and no rocket, no payload, no astronauts, no golf clubs or whatever else they take up there. So when they design these rockets, and rockets probably our most sophisticated scientific technologies that we have today, and expensive, and they're right on the edge. They're right within a few percent of not being able to work at all. Okay. Now, what I did is I took this equation and I made a little spreadsheet out of it. And there's several ways that that you may see this equation. The way I like to see it is it shows you the actual mass, the mass ratio. But you can solve it for other unknowns just as easily. I did it. It shows that, say, if I plug these numbers in there, say for kerosene, O2 fuels, fuel and oxidizer, for those two combinations of chemicals, and this is what the Saturn V use, and also the Russians use it on their Soyuz, and I believe the space shuttle used them, at least on the liquid part, kerosene and oxygen, to obtain 9.3 kilometers a second. This is what's called the delta V. To get into low Earth orbit, 96% of the rocket has to be fueled. It only gives like 4% left for payload and all this other junk. I mentioned this a minute ago because this exponential, this function is actually exponential. It's not a straight line. So what happens is if you take this rocket and use a different fuel, it'll gives a velocity. The kerosene and oxygen gives a velocity of 2.8 kilometers a second. If you were to use hydrogen and O2, hydrogen and burn like hydrogen and oxygen, like the Delta V, the SpaceX, that rocket does, that'll give the exhaust gases of 4.4 kilometers a second. And to get that same delta V, you reduce the mass from 96% to 87%. So if you double the ratio of the delta V to the exhaust gas, if you increase it by 50%, you only get about another 10% of actual carrying capacity of what the rocket's supposed to do. The rest of it is just fuel that goes along for the ride. And until we come up with a better fuel, we're really limited to this. To go to Mars, to go to Mars, for example, and assuming that they may want to come back, we're going to have this delta V to Mars, as opposed to about 8 kilometers per second, 8 or 9, it's going to have to be 10.4. So most of the work is getting from Earth, surface of the Earth to the near Earth orbit, and only a little bit more will take us onto Mars. Only about 4 kilometers a second will take us from near Earth orbit to Mars. Now, if we land on Mars, that's on the transfer orbit on Mars, but if we land on Mars, it's going to take 10.4 to leave the surface of Mars. So the problem is if we use up all this fuel just to get to Mars, our technology doesn't allow us to get back. So that's why they're looking at other means where they can extract oxygen and these other fuels on the surface of Mars, or maybe from the moon or something like that, so we don't have to carry it all the way up from Earth. What time we got here? We're about ready to close it down here. Yeah, we just got a few more minutes. The really interesting thing about this is that we're really on the limit of our technology and what we can get out of chemical fuels until we come up with a more energetic fuel source, such as nuclear fission or dilithium crystals. Most of the weight that we take into space is simply fuel, and that's what we're stuck with. So that sort of concludes my talk here on the rocket equation. That's why it's called the Tyranny. Why Don Pettit calls it the Tyranny, because it really dictates what we can do and what we can't do. And until we find another way to do it, this is what we're stuck with. So I was going to mention about the space launches this week. We did have one yesterday. You may have heard that there was a Soyuz MS-14 that aborted because it had trouble docking. Yeah.
I'm completely operational and all my
space station is supposed to bring up some kind of android robot. I guess maybe a Chucky doll for him to play with or something like that. But there was a video of that was quite interesting where they just couldn't, it wouldn't dock. There's going to be a Dragon on the 27th. They'll be broadcast live. It'll depart from the International Space Station. That's cargo craft, and that's about it until next month. There's some other Russians and Chinese stuff going on, but that won't be until later. On September 6th, that Chandra mission will arrive on the moon. That's the one that I believe Kelly had talked about earlier. So I'll kick it back to Ned, let Tom do the housekeeping, and we'll call it a night. So thank you very much. This is KG5P, and back to Billy. We'll see you next week.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yeah, we're about out of time. So, Tom, KE5ICX, did you say you had more check-ins? If so, please, let's take care of those and get me a final count, and then we'll wrap up this evening's net. This is KFI-PDS to KE5ICX.
Good. Let me go ahead and check in W5TUS. That was Gus. He came in. And then Lawrence, I know this is crazy, but Lawrence was at our build today. He's 12, and he's going to go and get his license. He's listening this evening, so I want to make sure that he gets checked in. He's number 35. I'll take additional check-ins. If you have not checked in this evening and would like to do so, please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from.
This is Kilo Golf 5 Echo India Uniform David, St. Paul, Texas.
Copy, recheck.
I've got KG5EIU, David, in St. Paul. You're checked in, and KG5P, Mike, go ahead with your recheck.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I'd like to welcome Lawrence, really. I'll tell you, I got started in ham radio when I was about his age. It's been a great hobby. It's been a lifetime hobby, and what can I say? The rest is history. So welcome to the hobby, Lawrence, and go as far as you can with it. Back to net to KG5P.
Thank you, Mike. Any final check-ins? Please come now with your call sign, name, where you're transmitting from. We had 36 check-ins, so back to net control, KE5ICX.
Copy that. Tonight we had 36 hams participating on the air, so thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you'd like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS Billy, and I'll be closing the net at 22:32 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. 73, everyone, and enjoy this evening discovering the universe. And do please stick around for the Afterglow movie. We'll probably take about 5 minutes and then come back and we'll be discussing the Coneheads. 73, everyone.
KE5ICX, come back in 5 minutes. Go powder your noses. You know what to do. And we'll talk about the Coneheads from 1993. This is KE5ICX. Come back, 5 minutes. Okie dokie. If everybody's ready on the dark side of the moon, here we go. It's the Afterglow Movie Net. What do? We talk about a movie. What is the movie? Well, tonight's movie is The Coneheads from 1993. Why are we talking about The Coneheads? Because we do the Afterglow Movie Net. It's very important to do so because we get to talk about good, bad, indifferent movies. This time we get a comedy. Well, it passes as a comedy. What does that mean in the scheme of things? I don't know. We'll have to ask Baltar. In any case, I am KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net, which is The Coneheads from 1993. While you think about that and you size it up, I'll tell you what the movie is about. I get this from my investigative firm called Wikipedia, and they have the following. Coneheads is a 1993 American comic science fiction film from Paramount Pictures, produced by Lorne Michaels. Yeah, that guy from Saturday Night Live, directed by Steve Barron and starring Dan Aykroyd, Jane Curtin, Michelle Burke. The film is based upon the NBC Saturday Night Live comedy sketches about aliens stranded on Earth. Have anglicized their names, Ramalekian surname to Conehead. Michael Burke took over the role played by Lorraine Newman on SNL. Film also features roles and cameos by actors and comedians from other contemporary television series of the time, a whole bunch. All right, believe it or not, this film has a ton of plot. I am not going to go into all of it, even though there wasn't really a huge plot. Here we go. I'll give you the first couple of paragraphs. Upon discovering a UFO in American airspace, National Guard sends fighter jets to investigate, and they fire on the craft when it doesn't respond. Activating a cloaking device, too late, the spaceship crashes into the Atlantic Ocean near Manhattan. The aliens aboard are Beldar Chlorhone and his life mate, Primate. Now that makes sense, I guess. Survive and quickly adapt to our human way of life, despite standing out with their conical-shaped heads. Beldar was assigned to the High Master to conquer Earth as the Protoid Refueling Station under the title of Fuel Survey Underlord of the Wilderness Planet at the end of the Noctilinium solar chain. Beldar gets work as an appliance repairman, and when his grateful boss, Otto, you get it, don't you? Discovers that Beldar has no documentation, he arranges for false identity, which sends up a red flag that quickly alerts the INS. Meanwhile, after communicating with their world, Remulac, and discovering that a research rescue vessel will not arrive for 7 zeros, that's many years to you Earthlings, Primat informs Beldar that she is pregnant. They now need to completely adapt and safely blend in order to raise their child among humans. Ambitious INS agents Gorman Seedling and his assistant Eli attempt to capture Beldar and Primat, but they are able to elude the two agents. All right, I'm going to stop here because really the film is dense with lots of throwaway comments and all of that actually makes it kind of interesting. So, this was recommended by somebody who has been lurking for many nets, and maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. We'll find out, but it's okay. It's on the list. This is KE5ICX. I'm net control for tonight's Afterglow Movie Net. We're talking about Coneheads from 1993. I sound like a DJ. A bad one at that. So go ahead and take check-ins. If you'd like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign name. You can tell us where you're transmitting from, but let us know. Did you see the Coneheads? Let's go.
Golf 5 Papa, Mike and Richardson. I have seen the Coneheads at least twice, but not this week.
5DL, Dave. Yes, I did see the Coneheads. Carrollton, Texas.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, and yes, Aaron and I did see the Coneheads.
November 5, India Mike, Sierra, JJ from Remulac.
Says Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brenda from DeSoto, and I did see the movie.
This is Whiskey Tango 9 Victor, Michael from Plano, and I've seen most of the movie.
So, Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Berlin, Dallas. I did see the movie.
Whiskey 5. Let's stomp on somebody. Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. Yes, I saw it.
Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha from Ramulac, that would be Chaz. Yes, I've seen the movie. Many times.
5 BP from France.
Okay, let's stop here. I think I got everybody checked in. I'm going to go to Echolink after this. I got KG5P, Mike in Richardson. He has seen the movie, although it's been a while. I got you checked in. AC5DL, Dave over in Carrollton. Yep, he saw it. NT5TM, Tony Dow. Yeah, he saw it. N5IMS, JJ from Remulac. Actually, I think that's Carrollton. We don't know if you saw it or not, but you're going to have to fess up and tell us at some point if you did. WB5OZL, Brendan DeSoto, yep. WT9, Victor, that's Michael in Plano, yep, he saw it. KF5TSK, Mr. Merle, Dallas, he saw it. W5EBB, David Dow, yep, he saw it. KF5JHA, also from Remulac, he did see the film. He's awake and he's tanned. He saw the movie. K5BP, I think that's Bernie, or it could be someone else, but I think he's checked in. Bernie, are you checked in? K5BP.
Yeah, K5BP from France. Saw the movie.
All right, you're in. Mass quantities of whatever it is. Okay, here we go. I'm going to Echolink. If you would like to check in, please come with your call sign, your name, where you're transmitting from. Let me know if you saw the Coneheads from 1993. I'll put you on the list. And if you didn't, it's okay. You can still make comments about alien invasions by comedic people from the 1970s. So Echolink only, please come now.
Kilo Golf 5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, J near Weatherford. I did see them.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy and Sherman. I did not get a chance to see the film, but I have seen the original Saturday Night Live skits from the 70s.
November 5, Zulu, Papa, Kilo, Leroy, no. I did not see the movie. I did wake up 2 seconds ago and I heard the transmissions going off the air. So here I am checking off the air with the 5 by 23 session round. N5 CPK back to net.
Hey, Leroy, thanks for checking in, and hello to the net. John from Norman. I have seen that movie. I saw it a long time ago. I've also seen them on Saturday Night Live, enjoyed them. I am just going to listen in. I'm in the middle of a project. I'm going to listen in. I don't have anything prepared, but at least I will understand a lot of the comments made this evening. K5JDW.
Hey, let me go ahead and get folks checked in. I got KT5BZWJ. Yep, you saw it. KF5PDS. Yes, she saw it too, Billy. Let's see here. K5ZPK Leroy over in West Virginia. He's checking out, but he is showing his support. He did not see the movie. K5JDW. John and Norman, yeah, he's checking out. But that's okay. If you guys would like to check in again, if you're still listening in covertly, you may do so. Any additional check-ins? We're talking about the Coneheads from 1993. If you'd like to join us, please come with your call sign name, where you're transmitting from, did you see the movie? Although that's not required, but it does help. Any additional check-ins, please come now.
Alpha Alpha 5 Alpha Hotel, Robert Richardson. Yeah, I did see the movie.
Okie dokie, I've got AA5AH, Robert over in Richardson. That's 16 check-ins on this net. That may be a record. I'm not sure. I think it is. Okay, here's the deal. This is what we do. We're going to go in several rounds. We're going to go ahead and talk about the plot. Did this thing stand up? Did it not? What'd you like about it? What didn't you? This is probably the biggest deal of the whole thing, having to do with did this movie work or not. So we'll go ahead and start at the top. If you didn't get checked in, that's all right. We'll get you at the bottom of the list. So as net control, I get to take everything that you guys say and say whether I agreed or not at the end. That's the advantage of being net control. And I get to pick up all your comments and say, I already thought of that. Oh, I wasn't supposed to say that. Okay. KG5P, Mike, you saw the movie a while back. What do you remember? If that doesn't work, then tell me about Alien Invasions by comedic actors from SNL. KG5P, Mike, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Tom. It's KG5P. Well, actually, I saw it when it first came out, and then I saw it relatively recently, so it's not that I didn't want to watch it, I just already seen it. But it is a great movie. Definitely is one that you got to see with the great Dan Aykroyd. Had the late, great Chris Farley, Jane Curtin. Great movie, great actors. Now, this was like the movie we had last week. I thought, this is the way these kind of movies should be. I think a couple weeks ago we had that disaster, that travesty, the battle between the planets. And see, that movie we tried to be serious. It's full of nonsense, but they were all trying to be straight. And this movie, all nonsense, but they weren't trying to be straight. It was just very dry, droll nonsense. Absolutely fantastic. The Coneheads have been around a long time. On Saturday Night Live, back between, years ago, Saturday Night Live actually used to be good. Every time I've watched it, a few times. Every once in a while, I'll check in and watch it. And I said, there's a reason I stopped watching it, and I just remembered what it was, because what passes for comedy now is just, it's a different mentality or a different audience they're going to. But back in the early 80s, it was fantastic. I remember the skits they had, before it was a movie, of course, they had the skits, and they had the Coneheads, and they were on, it was either Family Feud or Hollywood Squares or something like that. And the question was, name a popular holiday in December. And Bill Dar goes, she says, the moons of Meepzorp. I mean, it's that kind of shtick, and you have to really enjoy that kind of stuff. Everything, it's all said with a straight face. So, fantastic movie, very well acted. All the pieces and parts worked right. So that's my comments. Back to net KG5P.
Thank him up, Mike, and thumbs up. I like it. AC5DL, Dave, over in Carrollton, your comments on the plot. Go ahead, from KE5I6.
Okay, Tom, AC5DL here. I thought the movie was a cinematic masterpiece. I mean, where else in movie history can you find in one movie a combination of a star-studded Hollywood cast, movie footage from the original Star Trek series, illegal aliens on Earth as well as from another planet, examples of bad driving both on Earth and as well as in space, live childbirth, and golf all in one movie. I think the movie helps the viewer better understand the social challenges of being an illegal alien, regardless of what planet you're from or living on. It includes an exclusive look inside the locker room of one of those expensive golf country clubs, and it also proves that, like here on Earth, aliens from other planets also have challenges raising teenagers, regardless of what planet they're from or are on. Back to you, Tom, AC5DL.
All right, thank you, Dave, and that's one of the greatest analysis in one of the shortest periods ever. And yes, I agree with you, but I'm going to hold my enthusiasm for later. NT5TM, Tony, your comments on the plot from KE5I6.
I don't think I can top the previous comment. That hit all of the high points and fun combinations that they worked into this satire salad. Aaron has been educating me this evening on just how many different movies were made from Saturday Night Live skits, and many of them were much more missed than hit. But this was definitely one of the better ones. We really don't have any great collection of details to share, just that we enjoyed it and we laughed, and that was good enough. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. Next up, N5IMS. Jay, you're on the radio. JJ, what do you got for us? And you're from Remulac. By the way, did you see the film? Because we're not sure. N5IMS, KE5I6.
Well, yes, I did see the film, and which I figured you would get from the Remulac, but I also basically forgot that as far as when I was checking in. Even though normally on chat that's included, but when I'm on the microphone, brain doesn't work right. The one thing I did not do, unfortunately, while watching the movie was take notes. So most of this is from my feeble mind, but I think with this show, feeble mind is probably good. Now, as far as the plot, I think they basically hit everything that they could have. They milked it for the comedy that it deserved, and I think that's a good thing. You know, basically hitting all of the pieces that they had from the Saturday Night Live sketches, and expanded it for the movie format, which of course you need to. You know, movie's a bit longer than a 10-minute segment on national TV, so you've got to have more comedy, which they did, and you know, it was basically a good movie. I enjoyed it and had a good laugh. It's N5 IMS.
Very good. JJ, I got you your comments, and let's see. Next up, WB5OZL, Miss Brenda over in DeSoto. You saw the movie. In fact, you saw it with Dave, myself, Randy, a few other people. Go ahead. What are your comments about the Coneheads from 1993? Go ahead.
Oh, this is WB5OZL. I really liked it. I laughed, and I just thought it was very clever and well done. If different people tried to do this, it certainly could have fallen flat, but there is no denying the talent that was in this movie. So I hadn't seen it before, but I did enjoy it. I didn't actually have high hopes for it because I'd seen a few of the skits on Saturday Night Live and was not all that impressed. They just seemed dumb to me. But this one works, and the story wasn't bad. It wasn't bad at all. So I'll have more to say later. W5OZL.
Yogi, thank you, Miss Brenda. I have more comments. I can put an asterisk by your name, so you better stay awake, and you've got some splaining to do. WT9, you know I'm going to do it. WT9 Victor Michael over in Plano. Your comments about the plot for the Coneheads. Go ahead.
Oh, like JJ, I didn't take any real good notes on this because I was laughing too much. I don't know where the plot went because I was just kind of along for the ride. From the moment, the beginning of the movie when I heard, it's like, wait a minute, it sounds like Star Trek, and then they panned over to Star Trek, and just everything. It was a lot of fun. All the little jokes, the little inside things, the little comments, the way things were said. I don't know. I had too much fun to think about it, really. WT9V.
Oh, that was short-lived. All right. Well, hang in there because you're going to have to talk about characterization. So you better come up with some better stuff. I don't know. I'm just saying that because probably mine won't work out really well either. KF5TSK Burl in Dallas. By the way, it's good seeing you today. Your comments on the plot.
This is KF5TSK. Well, the description I read of the movie was it was dreary, desperate. I think it was a good plot. They kept action moving with the comedy. You never knew what to expect next. It was entertaining because you just didn't know what was going to happen next, what they were going to eat, or what was going to happen. One of the things that I liked about it was it was a 1983 movie, but it will still fit today. It's still relevant. They didn't, make up any science fiction. It was, I guess you could, assume what the plot was going to be from beginning to end. And they kept you entertained because you just didn't know what to expect next. K5TSK back to net.
Bro, I don't disagree one bit. W5EBB, David, you saw the movie. What'd you think of the plot from KE5ICX?
This is W5EBB. Well, kudos to the cinematic masterpiece commenter, nicely reviewed. This is a good, funny movie. Another one of those movies from the past I missed. At the beginning, when the spaceship is first intercepted by the F-16 pilot on his infrared display, the ship UFO looks a lot like the F-18 footage released a few years ago, which showed the tracking of a similarly shaped object, maybe a little bit more like a spinning top. But the actual F-18 pilot didn't shoot it down for whatever reason. But the F-16 pilot in this movie did, right above New York City. And after narrowly averting the Statue of Liberty and the Twin Towers, it splashes down with a Bellagio-like prancing fluids eruption. And as the cone heads escape, you can just see the conical tip of the spaceship bobbling around in the water like an ocean buoy. So now we know what those really are. 1 hour and 27 minutes is right on the mark for this movie. It didn't drag. It didn't have any slow spots, except maybe that Kodachrome commercial. But actually, that was a good device to move the plot along, advancing Connie Conehead quickly from newborn to teenager, and it also established the Americanization of the Coneheads with ample opportunities for product placement ads. So yeah, I enjoyed the movie. It worked, and it really hit the mark. I enjoyed it. W5EBB.
Thank you, David. And I don't disagree. As net control, I can do whatever I want. Next up is, wait, what? JHA, Chaz. Wait, you've never checked in on this net. Are you okay? From KE5ICX.
Yes, I've checked in on this net, but only occasionally. So yes, I am okay. What was it? The second, third check-in that was talking about the plot. Oh, but nailed it. What was his name? David. He talked about all the sorts of different things, like tattoos in a cone, fixing lawnmowers, fighting monsters. All that. There were so many different themes within the plot, or I should say different storylines. It just kept it great. And of course, I do love comedy and jokes and puns, and double entendres are great too. So yep, I liked it all. I give it a 10 out of 10. KF5, JJ, back to net.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz. Okay, we know where your mindset is, so cone in on that. K5BP, you don't check in on this net. Bernie, if you're still awake, tell us what you thought about the plot.
Well, as others have said, that first original review is very hard to follow up on, but I have to admit there were a couple of good comedic moments there. A couple of my favorites were when the INS agent had his demo map, and he had the device that would blow up the illegal immigrants if they crossed the river. I about died laughing with that because it just vaporized them. Let me reset. And probably my favorite comedic moment is when he was setting off the fireworks on the side of the football stadium, and it was just a simple bottle rocket in a milk bottle. And it went off, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And then about 10 seconds later, it looked like a nuclear mushroom cloud went off, and I thought that was one of the funnier moments of the movie. Back to net.
All right, thank you, Bernie. Yeah, I'll hold off. KT5BZWJ near Weatherford, your comments on Coneheads from, I think, 1993. Go ahead, from KE5I6.
This is KG5BVW. Yeah, I enjoyed the film. I will have to say I had to pause it a few times, only because not so much that it was like bad or anything, but certain types of comedy sketches tend to fill me with anxiety. Not so much that, you know, I'm gonna die or whatever. I'm calling it that because it's just one of those things like, oh no, this is not gonna happen. No. I already have a feeling what's gonna happen, and it just kind of fills me with one of those feelings that I sometimes have to just get up and take a breather. But anyway, and a lot of comedies from the 90s tended to do that. I don't know. At least sitcoms. Yeah, no, I was pleased with the film, honestly. I'm not sure I can say anything that really hasn't been already said. And for some reason I've already forgotten what I was going to say. The one weird thing that I hadn't really even considered, this is not really relating to Coneheads, but I can see that this comedy, I was reminded of a recent webcomic series. I mean, very recent, like it just recently became popular, over 1 million Instagram followers, Strange Planet, which seems, I don't know, I wonder if the author, Nathan Powell, accidentally copied from this, the inspiration, the Conehead inspiration, because a lot of it is similar, kind of off color, not off color, but not particularly normal remarks, but still literally correct, literal representations, and I appreciate that webcomic as much as I did a lot of humor in here. I have to admit I'm not entirely fond of the okay, they're aliens, so they're superhuman or whatever, but yeah, whatever. This is 1993, and that's basically how a lot of aliens were, I guess, represented, or something. We never really saw how they might actually be have issue. And I'm about to time out. Hold on. Okay, so hopefully I won't time out the repeater. But yeah, I think I've really had my say here. Yeah, I have. It's KG5 BGW back, and that.
Movie. Next up is Miss Billy, KF5PDS. I didn't write down a yes or no if you saw the film over in Sherman. Billy, your comments. If you did not see the movie, that's fine. What do you think about alien invasions? Good or bad? Thumbs up, thumbs down. KF5PDS from KE5ICX.
Well, good evening, Tom. No, I did not get a chance to see the film, although I wish I had, because I do like the Coneheads. I always thought it was fun on Saturday Night Live. You know, I was a kid when those skits came on, so I've often wondered about, you know, going back and watching things, you know, as an adult, you know, things that I watched as kids, you know, because sometimes you watch it and you're like, why did I laugh at this? It's like, well, because I was, you know, 10 or, you know, and it was just the childish humor. It was because I was a kid, you know, I enjoyed it. But, yeah, I always think it's fun when they successfully take Saturday Night Live characters and make fun movies like Wayne's World. I absolutely love Wayne's World. And that, I think, has the product placement record for amount of products placed in a short period of time in movies, because they had a slew of products. They had a whole scene where they just went back and forth with different product placements. I wonder if they replaced the product with Pepsi instead of beer, because I know he normally goes for beer and potato chips, but I wonder if they replaced it to keep the PG rating, because the movie is rated PG by the Motion Picture Association of America. So I'm just wondering if it was more bent on that kind of a thing, a ratings issue, rather than a product placement, because they usually, you know, whatever beer they would have used, it would have been a product placement for that product. So I think it might have been related to that. But other than that, yeah, I don't really have any comments on the movie since I didn't see it. But alien invasions in movies, it makes me think of two in particular from the 80s. One is from 1984, Starman, starring Jeff Bridges, which I absolutely love. I've seen that movie many times. And that's more of a dramatic take on aliens getting stranded on Earth. And also another one is kind of, you know, dramatic, you know, kind of a film noir almost, is Alien Nation from 1988, kind of a crime drama about the ship full of about 300,000 aliens that crash in the Mojave Desert, and then they assimilate themselves into the city of Los Angeles, and then have a crime drama based around crime with the newcomers and Earthlings. So both very good, interesting movies. So, and I don't think we've done either one of those, so I would recommend those, put those on the list for an afterglow. But yeah, it's always interesting to see different takes on alien invasion, or just aliens that just happen to come to Earth. You know, it's like whoever intercepts them first, usually scientists have the benign viewpoint, military always has the more aggressive viewpoint, treating them as hostile. So I don't know, they just always bring up good questions about what to do, you know, if an alien does, you know, come to Earth. You know, I'm sure that we already have protocol set up, and you know, in case that does happen, I'd be interested to know what that is. But I think also Alien Nation, they made a TV program, because I remember watching in the early 90s. They had an Alien Nation television series, which I liked. I remember watching it. I thought it had good stories and good continuation of characters. So anyway, those are my thoughts right now. I may have some other things to contribute in the next round, so I'll throw it back to you. This is KF5PDS, back to net.
Okay, thank you, Miss Billy. And actually, both movies you mentioned, Alien Nation and Starman, were both turned into television series. Starman only lasted, I think it was one season, and I thought it was very good. I enjoyed it. Alien Nation, I think, personally, I thought it was awesome. I thought that series was fantastic. I enjoyed both very much. So both movies really provided a great platform, and then went on. And I think Alien Nation may have gone 2 seasons, so over on Fox, and then Starman was over on, I think, NBC. In any case, I'm going by memory here. Okay, let me continue. I've got Robert, AA5AH, over in Richardson. Robert, what are your thoughts on the plot? He may have stepped away. Let me go ahead and ask if there's anybody else checked in, or not checked in, I should say. Anybody who would like to join us this evening? We're talking about the movie from 1993, The Coneheads. Yeah, from Saturday Night Live. Anybody else like to join us? You get to talk about it. Please come down with your call sign name. Let us know if you saw the movie.
Kilo, Golf, 5, Alpha, Hotel, Juliet. My name's Frank, and haven't seen the movie.
Okay, I did get Frank, Kilo Golf 5 Alpha. I've got a question mark, Juliet. Frank, could you give me your call one more time, please?
No problem at all. I'm just coming from the colony, so it's probably a long throw still. But the call sign again is Kilo Golf 5 Alpha Hotel Juliet.
Super duper. I got KG5AHJ. That's Frank over in the colony. You're just up the road from me. Frank, you got anything you want to say? Alien invasions, good or bad? Go ahead.
Well, you got to be careful of them. But not too much good or bad. We just need to start thinking about it as a society and as a people. But other than that, a long-time listener to the net. First time I checked in, but I'm usually driving home this time of night, so I've heard y'all a number of times now. So I'm going to turn it back over to y'all. This is Kilo Golf 5 Alpha Hotel Juliet.
All right, Frank, thanks for checking in. I may check on you later. You may be gone later, abducted by aliens, but in any case, yeah, don't make yourself scarce. Come on in. You may have to take some notes, though. Sorry to say, that happens, and you do have to do spell check. There is deductions on points if you misspell things. Okay, my thoughts on the movie. First off, I want to thank Dave, AC5DL. He recommended this film. He insisted on this film, and he said, "You're going to love it." And I went, okay, fine. And I thought, well, it's a skit from Saturday Night Live. How good could it be? Well, I'm a Blues Brothers fan. I've seen that movie 5,000 times, and I enjoy it quite a bit. This one goes into that category. I'll watch it again and again. I really thought it was fun. Why? Well, the humor's great. There's stuff that's going on that you got to keep up with. Some of it's slapstick. Other parts of it is just kind of kind of on a parody of other films that we've seen in the past, which is fine by me. Another thing that I enjoy, and maybe it's because I've watched too much British television through the years, is that the lines are delivered so quickly and the jokes come at you so fast that you really have to pay attention to get some of the humor. And that's by design, and I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. Challenge your audience. That, I thought, was fantastic. Another thing that I thought was great, of course, is the storyline, any comedy is always a reflection on reality to a certain extent, and this definitely falls into that. The alienation thing actually is brought in on a comedic level, and I thought it was well done. I thought that was great. Overall, playing it straight, I didn't think there was a wink, nod. I think that there were some comments that there was that. I thought that it was kind of done as a straight-up thing, although having seen, Saturday Night Live skits through the years, maybe I can't do a baseline on that one because I remember all these people in it. And then, lastly, I thought the characterizations, I personally believe, wait, you know what, I won't say that. I'll hold that for later about the acting in the film. Overall, I thought it was well done. It was well paced. It was 90 minutes long. That's perfect for a film like this, a comedy. Don't go too long. And I thought that the way they handled the events, the daughter growing up and all of that, really worked out. And then, of course, the contrast that goes with it, the characters become Americanized, and how they act through the whole thing is great. I thought it was great. This one's on my top 10 for comedy. So let me reset. All right, the next thing we're going to do, put your noodles to the wheel here. The next thing we're going to talk about is characterizations. Did the characters seem realistic? Did they provide what you maybe saw on Saturday Night Live? Did they expand? Did it work out? Were they allegories for other characters you've seen in the past? Were they parodies of characters you've seen in old science fiction films or new science fiction films that have come since? Were they inspiration for anything? I don't. Those are just kind of like hooks to put out, because now we go and talk about characterization. How the characters hold up in this movie. I'm going to start at the top, KG5P. Mike, your thoughts on characterization. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, Tom, thank you. It's KG5P. Well, the characterization was done perfectly. All of the characters were believable. They had a sense of humor, but they didn't know they had a sense of humor. So the delivery was very, very droll. Some of the lines were like "consume mass quantities." Almost turned into an iconic phrase. I use it all the time myself. Consume mass quantities. Great stuff. As alien invasions go, this really, you can't think really is an alien invasion movie, because it was an alien invasion in name only. There was a similar movie, well, not similar, totally different, but if you ever seen I think it was District 9 was the name of it, District 9. That wasn't a comedy movie, but it was very similar. I think we should do that sometime. There was a spaceship that hovered in the air, and it kind of stopped above London, and it stayed there for about a year, and nobody could figure out what happened, what was going on. So finally, the humans came in. They got access to the spaceship, this flying saucer, and they found the inhabitants they'd been there a year, and they were all emaciated and starving and all that. So they took them down to Earth. They were so bug-like creatures, or lizard-type things, I guess, I don't know. And so what they did was they put them in a special compound, and humans were supposed to avoid them. So here are these space aliens that were living in this slum, basically. A really bad slum, so like some slum you might see in Calcutta. And that was sort of the gist of the movie. I think we should do that sometime. But at any rate, I didn't really have any more to say about Coneheads that I hadn't already said. It was a great movie. The lines were delivered. One thing that I really appreciated was there was no laugh track. I guess you really don't see laugh tracks in movies, but they didn't have to have a laugh track when somebody made a joke to tell me that they were making a joke. Perfectly cast with actors that we'd seen them in those roles before. It worked out great. KG5P. That's it.
Hey, thanks, Mike. There is a breaking station. Can you give me your call, please?
Sure can. This is Kilo Golf 5, November, Alpha November. Charlie.
Hey, I got KG5NAM. Charlie. What we're talking about is the movie The Coneheads. We're doing a net. Do you have any comments you want to bring? Or respond to Mike direct, KG5P. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. First of all, I thought Coneheads was a fantastic movie. It was exactly what it was intended to be. It was hilarious, partially because of the delivery of the lines were so flat without a lot of expression. And of course, the characters, the main characters, Dan Aykroyd's character and Jane Curtin's characters were reprised from Saturday Night Live, and they were terrific. I think it was a great movie. I enjoyed it very, very much. I've seen it many times, and every time I see it, I pick up a new joke that I missed from previous times, probably because I was laughing so hard at a joke that delivered just before it. Over.
Oh, Charlie, I absolutely agree with you. I've become an instant fan of this movie. Last night I saw it for the first time, and I absolutely will watch it again and again. Really enjoyed it. Okay, very good. I've got you on the list. I'll come back to you in just a little bit. Thanks for your comments, and I think the overall feelings about the film are about the same. Okay. I'm going to go to the next guy. He was the one that suggested this movie, and I just shook him off on it. Well, okay. It's, any rate. AC5DL, Dave, tell us about your thoughts on the characterization. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
Hey, AC5DL here. Well, you know, Dan Aykroyd and Jane Curtin were kind of the anchor characters in this, of course, coming from the original Saturday Night Live series and playing both aliens coming to Earth as well as their parents. And that was a unique change for them. But another a person that I thought was great in this was Michelle Burt playing Connie Conehead, along with Chris Farley, her boyfriend, of course, them being teenagers in this. And that brought in a whole new, unique structure into the whole movie. So, and then, of course, scattered throughout the movie were a whole lot of other characters that were, I thought, very well selected for their role, like Adam Sandler, David Spade, and one that not everyone may have noticed was Ellen DeGeneres playing the diving coach. You didn't get to see her for very long, but, you know, and of course all the others like Drew Carey and what have you. Jane Hooks, I think, doing an outstanding job as the lady trying to learn how to drive. Just really good characterization, I thought. But anyhow, that's my take on it, Tom. back to you, AC5DL.
Well, thank you. I think that was a great movie. I enjoyed it. 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 I en
Dave. Thank you. Next up, NT5TM, Tony. Your thoughts on characterization from KE5ICX?
I apologize. Actually, I don't have anything to add. I'm going to have to check out at this point. Thank you very much, Tom, and I'm really appreciating everyone else's comments. I just, sadly, my mind is wandering and I can't see anything useful, so I will speak in low tones. NT5TM, thank you very much.
I will mark you as absent. Next up, N5IMS. JJ, you're not absent. What did you think of the characterization from KE5ICX?
Present and accounted for, sir. Well, I think the casting was dead on. Basically, everybody who needed to be there was there. They did exactly what they were supposed to and everything. And in addition, I think it was a better movie because they had a very large cast of comedians that were doing small bits, which means that they could get their bit in and not overtake the movie. You know, kind of like Robin Williams does. He basically improvs throughout everything. Had they done that, I don't think it would have been near as good a movie. But being they were there, they were doing their part, they were funny, and it just helped the movie flow along that way. You know, had it been a smaller cast with the comedians, you know, basically having to do more, I think it would have been detracting because they would have had to have done more of their bit instead of what they needed to for the movie. This is N5IMS.
JJ, I think you nailed it. I was trying to articulate in my own mind what it was that really made this work. Yeah, it's the bits. I'll stop here because I get to be the Grand Inquisitor later on. WB5OZL, Brenda, your thoughts on the cast? Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
WB5OZL. Well, I love the cast. I think the strong points is that the two main characters had done these characters for a long time, so they had a lot of the nuances down and had practiced it a lot. I think that may have helped because they were just perfect. And so this was just brilliant casting. David Spade, who I just am a huge fan of anyway, was just perfect at this. It just a lot of subtleties there, and it's you know, it was very effective. A lot of these were in ensemble movies. Blowing in the Wind, I think, was one of them. Spinal Tap. And you'll see, you know, a handful was in this movie, a handful was in that movie. So these people work together really well. And of course, from Saturday Night Live, people work together very well. And I think you get a synergy there with the actors, with all this experience together. So, you know, pretty much I really have nothing bad to say about the characterization. I looked up on Wikipedia. Critics hated it. And one critic said that this is okay if you find Wayne's World a little bit too taxing. thought, well, that's really tacky, but, I mean, they were just vicious, and which I didn't understand. All right, I'll let somebody else go. This is WB5OZL.
Thank you, Miss Brenda. And I don't disagree. WT9 Victor. That would be Michael. Your comments on the characterization. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, seriously, I don't know. I really like humor that is funny or hilarious, but isn't presented as being funny. I mean, I guess that's why I like a lot of British humor. It's understated, but sometimes just side-splittingly funny, but very often delivered in a very droll manner, you know, and it's something that just kind of walks up and slaps you in the head while you're not looking for it, and comes out of nowhere. And there was a lot of that in this. It was just very dry. It was just the weird way that they were, but it was funny as hell. I hadn't seen the movie before, so I was surprised at how many actors that I recognized as the movie went along, and a few that I didn't recognize. So, you know, I'm going to have to watch it again. I don't know, I really liked it. And to Brenda's point, movie critics are very useful to have, but you have to watch some movies, and then you have to read the reviews and decide whether you agree or disagree with those critics. And so, you know, you learn which critics, that if they hate the movie, you're going to love it. So obviously there were a lot of critics that, like I said, you know, not all critics aren't always going to agree. So some are going to like it, some are going to hate it. You just got to figure out which ones kind of think the way you do, or in my case, as weirdly as I do. You know, that doesn't happen a lot. Anyway, I don't know. I'm trying to fill here because I got told I had to come up with some really good things, and I really don't have much to say. So I think I'm going to shut up and give it back to Mr. President before I make more of a fool of myself. WT9V.
Hey, thank you, Michael. And this is KE5ICX. We're talking about Coneheads from 1993. Movie based on the skit of what was it? Saturday Night Live, which is probably on right now. Well, maybe not anymore, but in any case, well, it's still on, but just not on right at this moment. Let's see. Next on the list. Oh, Burl. KFITSK. Burl, what are your comments about the acting in this movie? Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
This is KF5TSK. Well, one of the things I would say about this movie that, the actors were all, people that we know from other places, and it seemed like it, in a way, it made it more enjoyable. It may not have been that exciting to the critics, but it's like, hey, I saw the character that I like. We see a lot of movies, and, the main character is like, well, that was his one and only movie. Or, yeah, he was but, wasn't really that good, or the cast wasn't that good. But I think it was, the number of people that was, very familiar that, really made the movie. KF5TSK back to net.
Hey, thank you, Burl. I call that, I'm going to say it now because I'll forget later on. I call that death by acting. Your whole career is destroyed by the fact that you acted in this movie and it didn't really work, and your career took a dive. And you didn't experience that, which is actually kind of good when we talk about science fiction films that don't always work, which there's a lot of them, and the acting doesn't kind of fit in with the whole premise. But I'll stop now because I'm so excited about saying that. KF5JHA, Chaz, if you're still with us, you might not be. You may have been abducted by an alien force and taken aboard their spacecraft. You never know what happens then. KF5JHA, your comments about characterization. Oh, as suspected, he was taken away. Okay, K5BP, Bernie, are you haven't been taken aboard the spacecraft, have you? What do you think about characterization? If you're still here, go ahead. Oh man, we got the amateurs. People disappear because they have to go to bed. Hey, we're good until 3 o'clock. No, we're not. Let's see. KG5BZWJ, your comments on characterization. You got it. KE5ICX.
This is KG5BZW. I think the characters, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's I remember the character, actually do remember the critic reviews of this film, and that is one of the reasons I didn't really push too hard. Go by myself to see the film. But I don't know. I have to admit, seeing this film now, I'd say that was a mistake. But anyway, here I'm not even answering the question here. It's interesting, and it's from was. Oh boy, it's that time of night when I put things together in my head and they don't come out in sentences. What I want to say is it's interesting seeing the characters, the character actors, the little skits. I can't remember what Kramer and Seinfeld was. Michael Richards. Drew Carey. I mean, they've kind of played. They did play like you would see them on TV, or some of the things they were known for. Is I don't know if David Spade. I think he was still heavily involved in Saturday Night Live, so I don't know. Like he seemed to play the same kind of character later in that radio show. I can't remember, with Phil Hartman, or at least there's some similarity. Anyway, and I have to say, from a nostalgia standpoint, it was kind of nice to reminisce about Sinbad and all these guys and stuff. So it might be that the fact that it's 25 years on plus years on, and it's like, oh, there's that guy. It's like, it's kind of the same thing that you would the producers would have hoped to have elicited when you actually saw the movie. But even more so because it's so much later on, and I can remember the 90s now. And of course, I'm about to time out Echo Link. Hold on. All right. Yeah, I thought the cast was well selected, and they didn't have to play too long. And I'm not saying anything different, hardly anything different from what anybody else said, but I guess that's my 2 cents on characters. And we're running out of time here. I'll go ahead and add my deal with the special effects. I thought, they were decent as well. Little interesting stop motion for some aspects, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm heading over to the next person. KG5 BZW.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks you for your comments. I missed somebody, so I'm going to go ahead and let David speak. W5EBB, you have comments on characterization. I am so sorry. Somehow I marked you as there's more than 2 people on the net tonight, so I'm really confused. W5EBB from KE5ICX.
Well, I missed you too, Tom, but for now I'll just talk about characters. This was a good mix of SNL actors, and we can all consider ourselves fortunate that they didn't turn the Opera Man skit into a full movie. That would have been horrendous. The original Conehead sketches I thought were kind of silly, but in this movie they were funny and relatable, being more fully developed with a well-written story. Now, of course, Lorraine Newman was the odd woman out. She was replaced with a different actress in this movie to play the daughter. The Conehead phraseology, you gotta love it. A mall is a enclosed retail compound. A lawnmower is a chlorophyll stalk striker. And if offered breakfast choices of grid-like slabs, seared strips of swine, and flattened chicken embryos, well, I'd probably decline and opt for a dry bowl of granola. I liked the intro footage with Captain Kirk and Gorn, played by Ted Cassidy, and that's probably what real aliens look like. Jan Hooks is really funny, but her character in this movie as Mr. Conehead's driving school love interest didn't get enough good lines. But I'm glad to hear that she made the protected role and will come to no harm. David Spader was well cast as the annoyingly obsequious INS executive assistant, but for the dentist, I would have preferred Steve Martin instead of John Lovett. But the already low tank of nitrous oxide might have run out, leaving none for Mr. Conehead and Dennis Hopper. W5EBB.
Well, thank you, David. You should write for the New York Times movie reviews, and you intersected everything in real time, everything having to do with, Little Shop of Horrors to, I can't remember, the Blue Velvet movie. Yeah, that one. Amazing. Okay. Please pull over to the side of the road here, and you're going to have to do this breathalyzer nitrous oxide test. Okay, I'm going back over to Echolink. I got KFI PDS. Miss Billy? No, you did not see the movie, but you're inspired. I can tell. You want to see this film about alien invasions. It's funny. KFI PDS from KE5ICX. Go ahead.
Great, thank you, Tom. Yeah, I will watch this film because I really do love the characters, and I love Dan Aykroyd, Jane Curtin, and the Saturday Night Live characters are always so funny in their films. And I just wanted to comment, yeah, I agree with Brenda. It's like when you have an ensemble cast, they all know how to work together, and they all know their part, and just each contributing their part in synergy is so much better than a bunch of soloists trying to outdo each other. So they know how to work together. A lot of times in reading through the cast, the majority of the cast, if not all of them, all also came through the Second City Improvisational Troupe in Chicago. So, and they also had one in Toronto. And so all these actors, the majority of them came through Second City, and so they learned their craft and had been working together for years, probably before they even got to Saturday Night Live, and then there it just got better. So they know how to work together and bounce off each other and balance their crafts with each other. So that I think is why they achieve such wonderful comedic harmony. Also, a comment about the British aspect. I do love British humor myself. I love the dry wit. Looking at the information on IMDb, I see that the director is Steve Barron, who is British. So I'm sure his direction lent a lot of that kind of wit to the film, because the director, can craft his vision. And Steve Barron also, just to mention, he is the director of a large number of great 80s videos, especially the award-winning Take On Me by the group a-ha. That was just a revolutionary video in the style and craft of it. So he did a lot of work in the 80s with many, many, many prominent acts and had a lot of award-winning music videos. And he also directed a favorite 80s film of mine, which would be fun to do on Afterglow if we could find it, Electric Dreams, which I absolutely love. So Steve Barron is a wonderful director. Those are my comments. And with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDS, back to net.
Thank you, Miss Billy, and thanks for your comments. I absolutely agree. Let's see, where am I? Next up, KG5NAN. Charlie, if you're still with us, your thoughts on characterization. Go ahead, from KE5ICX.
KG5NAN. I thought, first of all, that the cast was well selected, and the characters were what you expected of the character. I mean, the characterization of the individual players was right spot on what you would expect of that particular character, and it was brilliant. It was just brilliant. Back to that.
All right, very good. Thanks, Charlie. And don't forget, you got to come back. Don't leave yet, because we got one more round. This one is an open round. Oh, let me tell you about what I thought. I absolutely agree. Somebody said something about the bits of business with comedic actors. First off, I think comedic actors are the best. They have a tendency to pull things out. They're able to take and do an intersection of reality in the sense that it's been presented in a certain way to us. Comedic actors have a tendency to kick down sandcastles. They take institutions and make them seem kind of stupid and somewhat self-centered, which they are. But in a movie, you can do that, and they take their routines, of course, and they integrate them with their persona that they put on stage and put them in movies. But that's really cool, because you get, especially when you get a number of different actors in this thing, and you're able to take and let them go ahead and do their thing for their little short moments, which is exactly one of the things that was in Blues Brothers, which is my previous favorite freaking film, and it's a musical. This one wasn't. It could be a musical if they wanted to. But in any case, I thought it was well done, well orchestrated. Acting was great. The characterization worked because of what I just said. I think that this really gave it kind of a nice, fresh feeling to science fiction. Let me reset. The whole process of making a movie, and it being science fiction is tough to do anyway. Just making it flow really well. So I enjoyed the heck out of it. I really did, and it is on my top list. All right, this is what we're going to do. This film really did work. We had a lot of check-ins, I think. Overall, it really kind of just resonated with the crowds, you plebiscites out there. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Anybody has any comments about anything? It can be about anything we've discussed. It can be about special effects, music, which is one of my favorites, and I thought it was good. David Newman did the music, by the way. One of the Newman brothers. That's pretty good because there's a zillion Newmans that have done music for 20th Century Fox, which, by the way, Sniff Sniff does not exist anymore. So I probably have some comments on that. Anybody has anything that they would like to bring to the net this evening, please come with your call sign.
W5FC.
N5IMS.
AC5DL.
W5EBB.
KG5B.
All right, I acknowledge N5IMS, AC5DL, W5EBV, KG5P. Let's start at the top. N5IMS. JJ, go ahead.
Well, my only real comment on special effects is I used to have a Mercury Sable of that same model type that Dan Aykroyd was driving as his driver's ed car. Mine did not have the sunroof, and I really don't think that it would physically be able to be lifted using a electromagnet like they did in the movie. But then again, I write that off. It's a movie, so they can do what they want. So it's not a big deal there. Now, the other two comments I have, excuse me, both relate to my brother and sister-in-law. They live out of Chicago. And, one is in relation to this movie and the other is in relation to the Blues Brothers. I'll get the Blues Brothers one first out of the way because that's Tom's favorite, so I've got to keep him happy. My brother-in-law worked for the city of Chicago and was an extra on the cutting room floor of the Blues Brothers. He was playing one of the National Guardsmen down there in the center during their big scene at the end. Now, saying he was on the cutting room floor is not 100% accurate. He was in the trailer, but he never made the movie. So that's kind of where that stands. Now, as far as this one's concerned, like I said, my brother and sister-in-law, they live in Chicago. Well, they were coming in on an airplane at O'Hare International Airport, and they had some friends coming to the airport to pick them up. Well, their friends decided to pull a joke on them and pick them up as the Coneheads. So they had the little plastic cones on their heads and were talking like the Coneheads and everything. And I'm not sure when my brother and sister-in-law decided to talk with them again, but they thought that was a bit over the top. This is N5IMS.
All right, JJ. Oh, I got to tell you something. I did an extra on Silver Streak back, 77, I guess it was, 78, something like that, when that movie came out. And I've never found me in anything, but it was, for Silver Streak, it was B footage over in Chicago at Grand Central Station, I guess. I did come in on the train, by the way. But I've never found me on any of that, but that's okay. By the way, I'm going to tell you something really cool. The Lost in Space tonight, for the first time, has been redone in HD TV, almost 16:9, not quite. Kevin Burns has done this, and it is fantastic. I am a huge fan of Lost in Space. All 3 seasons of incoherent crap. I loved it, and they have put out the higher definition over on MeTV, and it's on right now. So I'm totally geeking out. Okay, next up, AC5DL. AC5DL. That would be Dave. You additional comments. You started this thing. You're going to have to finish it. Go ahead.
Okay, Tom, AC5DL here. Yes, I'm responsible for all this, so I'm dodging tomatoes right now. But anyhow, I just wanted to offer on a technical note, at the beginning, the movie makes mention of a cloaking device used on a Conehead spacecraft, which up to this point was only known to exist in spacecraft in the Star Trek space series, I thought. So it begs the question, did the Romulans invent the technology and sell it to the Coneheads? Did the Coneheads invent it and sell it to the Romulans? Or did the Ferengi buy it from someone else and sell it or barter it to either party? I don't know about that one. Maybe I'm wrong on the cloaking device, but anyhow, someone can maybe correct me. And what about the Conehead phone? Interesting to note that it required a vacuum tube to make an interplanetary phone call. Even crude communications device in E.T., the extraterrestrial, used a digital speak and spell device as its main processor. But fortunately, in both cases, there was apparently no phone bill, thankfully. Anyhow, that's my comment. Tom, back to you. AC5DL.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Thank you for suggesting this movie. Thank you for your comments. It's also amazingly confusing. I appreciate it more than you could ever. Who am I again? W5EBB. David, additional comments. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
Well, I think the Q, as judge, determined that the Ferengi, the Romulans, and the Coneheads had independently, in a black box, developed that technology on their own, so there was no IP infringement or anything like that. I just wanted to mention the special effects and makeup were good in this movie. This is not the kind of movie that gets Academy Award nominations, but it should at least get an honorable mention for makeup. The Conehead teeth were very detailed, sort of a hybrid of Dracula, a great white shark, and Ripley 7. Great for consuming mass quantities of just about anything, and for cleaning and adjusting spark plug gaps. And the Conehead prosthetic itself, in a word, seamless. In 2 words, absolutely seamless. W5EBB.
Thank you, David. I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right. It was great. It was a wonderful scene. You gotta wonder. I'm speechless, but it has to do with how do you make the scene work, and it definitely it worked. Okay, next up, KG5P. Mike, your comments. Anything you want, go ahead. KG5ICX.
All right, KE5ICX and the group KG5P. Well, I'd like to make some comments on comments. somebody makes a comment, and then it kind of opens the door to more comments. So that's where we are at this point. One of the reasons this movie worked so well, and the reason that Saturday Night Live worked so well, was that all these, and this is mentioned before, all the actors were from Second City, which is a Canadian comedy group. And someone mentioned, maybe Billy, that they all knew each other, and they'd honed their craft long before Saturday Night Live. And the Conehead, this movie was the result, maybe the culmination of that. And Saturday Night Live today is just lame, for lack of a better, lack of a better word, that is the better word, it's just lame. But that's because, in my opinion, that all the Saturday Night Live actors moved off to do other things, and they were replaced by the new generation that didn't have the advantage that the original Second City group had. So there will never be another Conehead movie because they're not there anymore. They're scattered and or passed on. You know, John Belushi, Chris Farley, they made it. They've all moved on, and what we have left is the Saturday Night Live of today. And we'll never see another Conehead movie or Bill and Ted for that reason. In my humble opinion, KG5P.
Mike, no, don't be gloom and doom. Actually, there is Bill and Ted movie coming out. They announced it, and it will be there. It's okay. You know what? I'm going to say this about that, which I think was what Richard Nixon said one time, and that is simply there will always be something new on the horizon. There'll be new people with new ideas that are going to come up with stuff. As we get older, we'll figure out if we like it or not, and that's okay. I thought overall there are some really fascinating and good stuff out there that's being done today. Comedy. Let me say this. Teddy Sturgeon, Theodore Sturgeon, who was a great science fiction writer, said 90% of everything is crap. And that's true. So what lives, what survives, what continues to hit our psyche, and that is simply this, is that especially in movies, which we love and what we talk about is that the movies that bubble to the top are the 10%. And those films, those are the things that really capture our interest and keep our interest going forward, as well as nostalgia. There's a heavy piece of that as well. Let me reset. The thing that really works is that as we watch these things, we look for the next great thing. And sometimes we accept it, sometimes we don't. I really think that what occurs is that new people come on board, and we either accept them or we don't. We reject them, sometimes because we don't even know they exist. Other times we do so because we accept and glob onto them. Like this movie to me was really cool. I loved it, and it's part of my collection now, or will be a part of my collection. So, will there be a new group? Yeah, there's always a new group, a new sensibility. Now, sometimes it doesn't always work. I mean, the Gilded Age went away. Disco was here and went away. Grunge was here and gone. All these things happen, but what comes out of it, I think, in the end, is what inspires new generations and also helps to make really good stuff going forward. So I'm always the eternal optimist, except when I'm on the 635 and I'm a pessimist, but that's just me. Right. I Do I dare? I'll ask if there's any additional comments. Please come with your call sign now.
Number 5, Zulu Papa Kilo.
This movie will be actually one that I like, except from a technical aspect. Capricorn 1 from 1977. This film has one of the best scores ever by Jerry Goldsmith. That one is next. Capricorn 1 is your assignment. We'll do this again next week. So I'm going to say 7-3 to everybody. I think we had, how many people we have checked in on this one? I have to look. 17 check-ins for the Afterglow Movie Net, which is like at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty good. Well, it's 3 o'clock somewhere. Have a beer. This is KE5ICX. Say 7-3 to everybody. Thank you all. This is a really good discussion. I want to say my mother, my father, my brother. Oh, never mind. Say goodbye. I've been told to say goodbye. Good night, everybody. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
KE5ICX. KE5ICX. This is number 5, Zulu Papa Kilo, calling recheck. Over.
N5ZPK. Leroy, go ahead. This is KE5ICX.
Yes, I called to recheck. You didn't hear me. I was commenting. This is the first time I checked on the Saturday night check-in, on the movie check-in, and the other net, the Skynet. So I just want to make a note of that. Even though I made a note, I went to sleep through the movie. That's okay. I hope you understand that. And this is what I want to say. I appreciated the whole event, this whole evening. It's the first time ever checking in on Saturday Night Net and the Movie Net. Thank you for putting this program on the air, DRC. Thank you very much, Mr. President. N5, CBK, back to you, QSL.
Oh, very good, Leroy, and it's got to be very late. 1 o'clock in the morning, and your time. Thanks for checking in. Thank you for the support. Very much appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to transition to my chair. Fred has his chair. He's long since gone to bed, but I'm going to transition over. This is 7-3, everybody. Thank you. This was really a lot of fun this evening. This is KE5ICX. I'm clear.
This is KF5PDS to Leroy. Yeah, we do this every Saturday night, so be sure to join us. Also, at 7 o'clock, we have TechNet, so if you ever have any technical questions or just want to listen, make sure that you join Saturday night at 7, this same frequency for TechNet. So we do TechNet from 7 to 8, and then we do Skynet at 9, and then we do Afterglow at 10:30. So please do keep joining us. We're glad that you joined us tonight. This is KF5PDS, and I am clear.